Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. So today we're tackling a story that might seem pretty familiar at first, the healing of blind Bartimaeus in the Gospel of Mark. But trust me, there's a lot more to unpack here than meets the eye. We've got some fascinating research that delves into the historical context and the deeper meaning behind this miracle.
Yeah, this isn't just some feel-good story. This is about faith, persistence, and really what it means to truly follow Jesus.
All right, so let's jump right in. First things first, set the scene for us. Where are we? What's the vibe?
Okay, picture this ancient Jericho. Bustling, crowded, it's a major crossroads, so there's all this energy, all these people coming and going, and it's here, as Jesus is making his final journey towards Jerusalem, that he has this encounter with Bartimaeus.
Ooh, final journey to Jerusalem. That's going to add a whole other layer of intensity, right? Knowing what's waiting for Jesus there.
Exactly. You can almost feel the tension in the air. And then right in the middle of all this commotion, you've got Bartimaeus. He's not just a blind beggar. The text specifically tells us his name Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus.
So right away, we're reminded that this isn't some nameless, faceless person. He has an identity.
Absolutely. But at the same time, he's sitting by the roadside, completely dependent on the charity of others. It's a powerful image of marginalization, of being pushed to the edges of society.
And then, in that context, he cries out to Jesus, but he doesn't just ask for any help. What does he say?
Well, he actually uses a very specific title. He calls Jesus Son of David.
Wait, hold up. Son of David. That's not just some random compliment, right? Isn't that loaded with meaning?
You bet it is. That title is deeply rooted in Jewish tradition and prophecy. It's connected to the hope for a future king who would liberate Israel. So when Bartimaeus calls Jesus Son of David, he's making a huge statement about who he believes Jesus to be.
Wow, so he's not just asking for help, he's proclaiming his faith.
Exactly. And he's not just saying it quietly either. He's shouting it out for everyone to hear, even when some in the crowd try to silence him.
Talk about persistence.
Yeah.
And then there's that moment where he throws off his cloak, his only possession. It's almost like a physical manifestation of his desperation, of his faith.
Totally. It's like he's saying, I'm throwing everything I have at this. I'm all in. And that's the kind of faith that gets Jesus's attention. Because what does Jesus do? He stops.
Right in the middle of all the chaos and crowds. He stops for this one man.
It's a beautiful picture of God's compassion. And it's even more remarkable when you think about what awaits Jesus in Jerusalem.
Totally. But it's not just about stopping, is it? What does Jesus say to Bartimaeus?
He asks him a question that might seem obvious at first, but it's actually really profound. He says, what do you want me to do for you?
I mean, the guy's blind isn't the answer obvious.
Sure, on the surface, yes. But I think there's something deeper going on here. Jesus isn't just assuming Bartimaeus' needs. He's giving him agency. He's saying, your desires matter to me. Tell me what's in your heart.
That is powerful. And of course, Bartimaeus asked for his sight to be restored. And then Jesus says,
let go, your faith has healed you.
There it is, faith and healing. Connected.
Oh.
But I keep thinking about how Bartimaeus' physical blindness is kind of a metaphor for other kinds of blindness we all experience,
Absolutely. How often are we blind to the needs of the people around us? Or to injustice in the world? Or even blind to our own spiritual needs?
Ooh, good point. And speaking of spiritual needs, what happens right after Bartimaeus is healed?
He immediately follows Jesus. No hesitation.
Boom. From beggar to disciple.
Exactly. That's the transformative power of encountering Christ. It reorients your entire life. You're no longer stuck on the sidelines. You're walking in the footsteps of Jesus.
Now, I'm also fascinated by how this story is structured. It follows this classic narrative arc. You have the setup, the conflict, the rising action, the climax, and then the resolution. It draws you in, creates tension, and then leads to this really satisfying conclusion. But it's not just the structure within the story itself that's intriguing. There are these fascinating parallels with other stories in Mark's Gospel.
Yeah, like the story of James and John, which comes right before this one. In both stories, you've got people approaching Jesus with requests.
But those requests are really different, aren't they?
Huge difference. James and John come with the sense of entitlement, jockeying for positions of power and prestige in Jesus' kingdom. Bartimaeus, on the other hand, approaches Jesus with humility and desperation, simply asking to see again.
It really makes you think about the way we approach God, doesn't it? What are we asking for and why? Are we coming with demands or are we coming with open hands and open hearts?
Right. And it's not just about what we ask for, but how we respond when we receive it. James and John don't really change after their encounter with Jesus. But Bartimaeus, he's transformed. He immediately follows Jesus, leaving everything behind.
Powerful stuff. So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that there's so much more to this story than meets the eye. It's about faith, persistence, and the transformative power of encountering Christ.
And it leaves us with a really important question to ponder. If you were in Bartimaeus' shoes, what would you ask Jesus? What are the deep longings of your heart? What are you hoping for?
That's definitely something I'll be thinking about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's inspired you to look deeper into the scriptures and to discover all the amazing treasures hidden within these stories. Until next time.
See you then.